Okay, let's just get straight into it. Let's just do this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to #BeerTime, episode 121. I think it's 121. I always make this mistake. But joining me today, we've got Luke Edward, all the way from the States, but actually not. It's a homegrown boy. Luke, welcome home.
Yeah, cheers, sure, Troy. Thank you for having me.
It is almost 11 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, and we're at Final Tap, and we're having a frosty hammer.
Like a frost hammer lager. It's a good one, eh? This is going down easy this morning.
So I think this is what's the 400 Brewing Company is known for. They've always had the frost hammer. Mm-hmm. They've also been known for, have you ever heard of the Harambe beer?
Yeah, I have heard of that one.
So that's actually, I stand to be corrected. That's actually probably the beer that they are best known for. I think they've done 10 iterations of it, and it's just been this beer and this annual project that they've done, obviously for the last 10 years. And then the Frost Hammer Lager is just there. I mean, it's a fantastic,
just
clean lager. It's the one that you're not going to pay $80 for a pint. You know, they're always going to have it on happy hour. I'm looking behind me now. I think it's $30 for...
That's a deal, hey?
$30 for happy hour.
I might have to have a few of them today.
Very rare that you get to see a full pint for $30. How much is that in dollars?
I'm not sure. The dollar right now is probably an average, so that's probably like $2.
That's good.
Pint, that's pretty good.
And there's no tax on that.
No, it's min tax on that. That's actually a lacquer price there. That's close to what a Wacky Wednesday used to cost. Eh? That's how long I've been gone for.
We were just speaking about that the other day. How crazy was it? It was ingrained in our weekly calendar that Wednesday, that was the day that you had to get a Wacky Wednesday.
2 burgers for $20.
Cheapers.
Giving away my age now.
We are both giving away our age. Luke, tell us a bit about yourself. Now, I said you're from the States, but people will notice that you don't have an accent.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
I try hard, yeah.
So when people ask you what you do, what do you usually tell them?
My name is Luke Edward. I'm the regional sales manager of the Southwest Territory for Yakima Chief Hops. I also manage the Southern African Territory. I was born and raised in Blouberg.
Stormers,
Stokes. Province, Stormers. I was a little bit before Stormers, then it's Province. Now Province is gone, so it's just Stormers now apparently. But Stokes, love it. I born and raised in Blouberg. Went to school here. I graduated from the Red and Yellow School when it was still just up the street.
Lovely.
Art direction and advertising. Bounced around at a few ad agencies in town, and then I was working for NASPAPS before I moved over to the US. I was building apps for iPads and iPhones.
Oh, wow.
So taking like the print layouts of all the magazines and translating it to digital. Was in a little department there called Touch Lab. I'm not sure if they're still around. But when I was working there, that's kind of when I first met Johan, because I worked with Ray Bernardi, who was also in Kip
Johan from Capital Craft.
Capital Craft Johan, yeah. So we were. It's kind of funny seeing him so much now, because it's like we were mates before beer, and then like went in our crazy directions, and then crossed paths again in beer. So sorry for jumping around a bit, but
no worries.
Yeah. So my wife is from the US. She was down here for 3 years for school.
Okay.
We met here, and then she wanted to finish her education in Arizona, in Tucson at the University of Arizona. So we moved over there almost 14 years ago, moved over to Arizona, and that's when I first started brewing.
Nice.
I always loved being creative, but I didn't like sitting in front of a screen all day, So
Amen.
Cruised over there, always loved beer. And then when I got my green card, it was like, what job could I do that's both physical and creative?
Nice.
And that was brewing. So I started off there at a brewery called Barrio Brewing.
Barrio.
Okay. In Tucson, Arizona. Was there for a few years. Started off as a keg washer, at the bottom.
That's it.
Washing kegs, cleaning tanks, then start transferring beer, working my way up to like filtration and stuff, and then slowly getting onto the brew deck. There was only like 4 guys in the brewery there when I started. When I left, I was managing a group of about 10. So
Oh, wow.
it was nice being there from, the 2014 to 2019 kind of time frame when craft was still growing at like quite a pace. So it was really nice to experience that boom over there. And then, start seeing how trends develop. So I think that was one thing in the beginning, you always got to keep up with trends. There are a lot of guys who didn't want to brew hazy IPAs in the beginning. It had to kind of be forced into it. And, I think that's what makes it such a killer job being a brewer, is like, you've always got to adapt and change and like, let's try this. There's such a beautiful thing about craft beer, is that there's so much experimentation. And then, from Barrio, moved up to Oregon, got a position at Rogue Ales in Newport.
Sure. Rogue Ales.
Yeah.
They're no longer.
No, R.I.P. Rogue, dude. I was sad when I heard that the other day, hey? I had to go break out all my old merch and my hoodies I hadn't worn for ages. Now I'm rocking them again because you can't get them. But
So just to interject there, some of the old school listeners might remember Rogue as being one of a handful of beers that Greg Casey bought in from the States. And we're talking again now mid-teens, 20 teens, circa 2014, even earlier than that. And these were these 750ml bottles, but they weren't quarts. They were these almost artistic canvases of these labels that were covered from head to toe. Some were red, some were white bottles, and they just had these artworks that just made you question what was even in there. And damn, that was again, what a time to be in South Africa, getting those beers. And now, all of a sudden they just poof, gone.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember those big bottles. We used to call them the bombers. And sometimes when they'd be packaging those things, there'd be so many on the line. They'd be flying across the brewery there. It was kind of sketchy sometimes when they were packaging those big bottles. But
why sketchy? Because some would disappear.
There would be like the empty bottles coming onto that line, and that bottling line was so big, and it would like snake through the brewery.
Sure.
And then when you have like a few thousand bottles on there at once, I think the pressure would sometimes like force one, and you'd be like somewhere on the brew deck or towards like all the fermentation vessels, and you'd just see out the corner of your eye like a bottle flying across the brewery, and you're like, whoops.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, a lot of the packaging team were all off-season crab fishermen, so it really was, with that brewery being right on the docks. It was like being on a pirate ship. It was a cool spot to work. Fresh Dead Guy was so good, like drinking it off the Fuge. Probably shouldn't say that we used to do that, but Crispy Fresh Dead Guy was...
It's gone now.
Yeah, there's no HR there anymore. I can't get in trouble. So.
I remember Dead Guy. It had an obvious skeleton as the icon or whatever. I remember that.
That was like the first one, I think, that made them famous. It was just a Maibach with ale yeast, but such a beautiful beer with that higher ABV, crispy, and we used to crank those things.
So you were there for how long? Right.
I was there like mainly through the pandemic. So it was I had a bad snowboarding accident that cut my time short there. So I was there just under a year. We moved up from Tucson to Oregon. We were staying in Corvallis, and then I was commuting about 45 minutes every day down to Newport, where the brewery was.
Okay.
So we were about less than a mile from the Oregon State University Brewing Science facility. So I was there. My wife and I, we love going snowboarding and skiing, and we were up on Mount Hood one Christmas day, and we rode throughout the day. And then there was a little spot there that said they had like a night ski. So we were like, cool.
Night ski.
Yeah, let's do the night ski. It was, so they had all these floodlights around the slopes. So we're cruising. I'm normally used to riding, getting to the mountain in the morning and everything's frozen.
Yes.
And then it turns slushy throughout the day. But I wasn't used to, things being slushy, going frozen as it gets darker and later at night. So we're just cruising down this little cat run on the back of the mountain. Cat run's like where they drive the snow plows up.
Yes.
We're cruising down there, and I just like hit this little like ice section, slid onto my ass. I was like, wasn't bad at all, but then I accidentally slid and fell off a cliff into some trees. So
snowboarding, huh?
Snowboarding, yeah. So tore my ACL, my MCL, fractured my tibia, and that injury kind of set me back a bit. It sounds worse than what it was. It wasn't that painful at the time, you know.
I shudder because I think I did the exact same thing, ACL snowboarding, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I can still feel it. Like, but yeah, anyway, continue.
It was like snapping a fizz bar, you know, if you get a warm one like that and you pull it apart. But so fell down into the trees, unstrapped my board. I was actually riding with another mate of mine from Cape Town. He was living in Portland at the time. So cruise up, and I was like, my knee's busted. And they were like, you can do it, just strap in, ride down the mountain. And I like strap in, ride down, and I could feel my knee. It was like just skin holding it together. The thing was just moving around there. So cruised down to the bottom, saw the doctor at the resort. He was like, can't see any problems here. You're good to go. We had a little bit of a jaw on the mountain that night. I woke up in the morning, it looked like there was a grapefruit under my kneecap. And I was like, yo. So
that's not good.
Yeah, cruised into Portland, had some breakfast, drove back home down to Corvallis. It was about an hour and a half, and there was an urgent care next to the house. So I asked my wife, she was driving because I couldn't drive because it was buggered. So I was like, just pull in here. So walk in there. It's like, yeah, snowboarding, hurt my knee. Doctor was like, yo, you're my fourth snowboarder today. So called in an MRI for the next day. He wrote me a letter so I didn't have to go into work because we had quite a staircase at road going up to the brew deck. So I called my director of ops, Joel, at the time. He was awesome. And then let him know that I wasn't going to make it into work because I hurt my knee. And at that point, I hadn't even been there a year. I was still pretty fresh at Rogue. I'd only been there a few months. And then
but living the dream, man.
Yeah, living the dream, you know, like finally made it out of Tucson, you know. It's like trying to get out of the desert there, like being like a coastal O from Bloberg.
Yeah.
Like the desert was quite difficult moving to in the beginning, and those summers are so hot. So that's why I was like,
I can only imagine,
looking for brewery jobs somewhere where it snowed. So then cruised up to Oregon, at Rogue, had the injury, had the MRI, and then they were like, I remember when they called me back to come and meet with the doctor. It was funny because when they showed us the MRI on the screen, the guy was like pointing to it and he's like, we think your ACL is somewhere here. And my wife passed out in the doctor's office. Like,
oh, wow.
And I was the one in the wheelchair, and then she fell over and then had to get her wheelchair. It was like a chaotic time for us. But yeah, then they told me, you know, my recovery was going to be a year. That was,
Jeepers.
I want to say that was end of 2021. You know, like your recovery is going to be a year. And, you know, that was, to me, one of the benefits of the pandemic was so many schools had online classes. So as soon as that happened, you know, we waited out our lease to end. It was about 3 months for our lease to end.
Yeah.
And that first week where I couldn't go into work to brew anymore, I just signed up for online classes. So being so close to Oregon State University, I really wanted to graduate from their fermentation science program. You know, that next day I was in like a cast from like my hip to my ankle pretty much.
Jeepers.
And just signed up for online classes. You know, I wasn't like a big chemistry and math academic when I was here. You know, I went to advertising school. So it was kind of new getting back into that.
When you've got that drive and ambition to do something, you'll learn about chemical compounds and whatnot. So you have to.
It's crazy, you know, like actually then when I first started doing those classes, doing all the prereqs and stuff, all you got to do is read the book. Like, it's crazy. I was never good at maths in school, never good at science in school. And it's because I didn't read the book. And now, like, going back to school, I was like, I can't do calculus. And then you read the book, and then you're like, wow, I can do this.
It's so bad because you think about all the time that you wasted your parents' money going to school and varsity. And only now do you, like, at the later age, start to actually really want to study stuff, and you will actually read the book and you will absorb it.
And it's so fulfilling, you know, to be able to do that, like some of the advanced math stuff and a lot of the chemistry stuff. It was daunting at first, but then, you know, you just listen to your professor, your lecturer at school and go through it. And I actually really, really loved it. And there was, because I'd been working in breweries for about, you know, almost 7-8 years at that point.
Yeah.
It was nice seeing, like, if the lecturer would say, you know, what does this gas do when it interacts here at this temperature? I'd be like, oh, it does this. He'd be like, explain it. And I was like, well, I've seen it. That's why I know it does. I've seen it in the brewery. And then to know actually like why it does that on such a smaller level was really, really interesting. And,
Awesome.
And really cool. So, had the injury, went back to school, was just doing online classes. Because I couldn't work, we had to wait out our lease and then we had to move back to Tucson. So, looking at that whole...
It's not a small move. It's like 2 states across, isn't it? It's
it's
Oregon, California.
It's about a 23-hour drive if you do it in one shot.
Yeah.
Cruising up from Tucson, because Tucson's less than an hour from Mexico. You're way south, so you're shooting up through. You go through California into Oregon, or go through Nevada into Oregon, whichever way you want to go. But so then we had to move back. So much props to my wife. She let me live that dream to go work at that brewery. It didn't work out. We moved back to Tucson, and then I was still doing my online classes, and then started working at a smaller brewery called Moto Sonora. There's a smaller system down there, very close to Barrio Brewing, and I had a mate that was over there, and he's like, while I was going through physio and I had to get my ACL replaced and all of that, I was doing like bartending shifts there, and then slowly made my way back into the brewery after surgery and physio on my knee. So it's one of the cool things about the beer industry and the community, like there were so many O's rooting for me and supporting me to go work at a bigger brewery. And then there were so many guys that were so welcoming and helped me out when I had to come back because of that injury, So it was something that we hadn't planned, but it was something that, I got so much out of that injury, I wouldn't change a thing. I'd still do it. That injury, I went back to school. We moved back to Tucson, my wife and I, we bought a house.
Yeah.
And then from that, going back to school, I got the position with Yakima Chief Hops, which was almost like a dream of mine, a goal that I wanted to get to. So, if you look at that move, it looks like a failure going up there to Oregon, but actually so much good came out of it, I wouldn't change a thing.
Oh, dude, you hitting the nail right on the head. And this is... Sometimes in #BeerTime, we do talk about life goals and ambitions, and we do segue into, I guess, just life and where we are currently in our lives. And again, you just nailed the nail on the head with just not looking back as being a letdown or a hurdle.
Yeah,
it's definitely a part of a roadmap or journey that's challenges and helps you step to a level up. And it's not just, I always think it's not, the journey is not just a flat winding line. It's a winding but elevated every time kind of journey that you are kind of growing and being able to look back and looking down the mountain in terms of where you were. But even then, looking in 5 years' time and looking back at where you were currently, and you're still going to be growing and going to a different place.
How you handle those situations.
And it's also, like, I've also been in certain positions where I really wanted a certain job. Funny that you spoke about NASPers, and like I was also in the magazine game for a long time. And I really wanted this one position at this one job. Like, it was just all I wanted. It was Getaway magazine.
Oh, nice.
And I worked there for a month as an intern, and I was crushing it. And at the end of the month, they said, sorry, you're not the right fit.
Oh, no.
And I was like heartbroken. Like, I was like, what? I love travel. I love design. I love writing. I love this. But it forced me to go, then I went to Men's Health magazine. Where I just had the most incredible time. And it's all these shifts and transitions, funnily enough. And then at Men's Health, that's where I wrote my first article on beer.
Oh, nice.
And it's just this thing that you look back, you're like, okay, cool. That was meant to happen.
I wonder if we were there at the same time.
I don't know. I wasn't in the NASPers building, but I was in the
ABSA one.
ABSA building.
I
was in the ABSA building.
Because I was over there for a little bit too. They shifted us over after a few years.
Shift people around a lot.
I used to get seasick in that building.
That was 2010. That was 2010.
Okay,
It was during the FIFA World Cup. I remember that clearly.
Okay.
So anyway, but it's Yeah, I don't want to interrupt because this your story is fantastic, and it's great that you had this dream. Why did you want to work at Yakima? What was it about? And I'll give you a bit of a backstory. I feel like the new generation, bless them, and I'm talking about the new generation in terms of the guys who just entering the craft brew scene, just entering the homebrew scene, especially. When you talk about something like Rogue Ale, when you talk about something, even you can say maybe Goose Island,
Yeah,
when you talk about these iconic beers, they kind of look at you blankly and say, like, what do you mean? What is that?
yeah,
What is that? And perhaps we come from an older generation where those stories, those tales,
yeah.
those, what's it? Not hierarchy, but
It's like
the pedestal of where you
yeah,
put
they were legends.
brands.
Yeah,
And I guess Yakima Chief was one of those brands where you're like, oh. And again, just to come back, like when I was very fortunate enough to get invited to the Great American Beer Festival
yeah.
in 2023,
That's
I was
awesome,
telling
man.
folks, like, this would be my dream. And a
Yeah,
lot of them were like, what is that? I don't understand. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? This has been on my on my hit list since
yeah,
I first started. It's one of the first things that I found out about. So let's go back to that question. Like, why did you want to work with Yakima Chief? And you might have to just explain to people that there's a bunch of Yakima. I say Yakima, whatever you say. There's a valley, there's a farm, there's a company. So maybe just help explain to people the differences and why you wanted to work
yeah.
at this place.
So Yakima Chief Hops is it's a grower-owned company. So there's about 14 families, hop growing families, with their farms between Yakima and Washington State. Um, there's farms in Idaho and there's farms in Oregon. So with growing hops like long daylight hours. That's
Okay.
what you need to grow hops. You need to be really far north or really far south. If you look at where the Yakima Valley is, where the Willamette Valley is, it sort of lines up where the hop farms are in Germany, in the Czech Republic. When you go far down to New Zealand, that you need those summer days with long daylight hours for growing the hops.
We're talking 12-hour days, sunlight.
Yeah, they need a lot of sunlight. They grow really fast. You know, I know our trellises are 18 feet. I've been in America too long. I'm all in feet now and pounds instead of
Damn it, man.
meters. So what's that
That's
about?
I think that's 3 meters or 4 meters.
No, I think it's
Maybe
6.
higher.
It'll
Really?
be 6 meters. It's a 6 meter
Jesus.
trellis.
Oh, wow.
So it's like a coconut husk twine at the hop vine. It's a vine, not a vine, which is funny. Some of the farmers still call them vines though, so it's chill, whatever you want to say. And then the hops will grow. They've got tendrils that'll climb up the coconut husk twine to the trellis, and then once they get onto that metal trellis, then the plants will start producing cones. And those will be your hop cones that will fill with all of your oils and your lupulin and whatnot, develop your flavors. So Yakima Chief Hops was started by 3 families. It's the Carpenter family, the Brault family, and the Smith family. And it was Tom Carpenter that sort of didn't want to work with hop brokers or merchants anymore, and he wanted to sell his hops directly to brewers. So
Yeah.
we could get get rid of the middleman, get the freshest hops directly to brewers, and establish those partnerships and those relationships. And that helps us know like, what does a brewer want? Do they like this variety? Do they like this aroma? What do they want in that beer?
Yeah.
So those were the first 3 families, and now we've got about 14 different families that are owners of Yakima Chief Hops, but we have almost 40 family farms that we procure our hops from. So, the farms mainly with the American varieties between Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. And then we also procure hops from New Zealand, from the families down there, or from farms in Germany, Czech Republic, the UK. So we have a good variety of hops in the portfolio. But the thing that made me, fall in love with the company and want to work for the company was after going to my first hop harvest. I think it was 2018 or 2019, when me and some guys that I brewed with at the time, we went up to the Yakima Valley to attend Yakima Chief's Hop and Brew School. So Hop and Brew School is an event they have right when harvest starts. It's sort of before all the brewers come and do their hop selection. It's almost like a 3-day event where you can sign up and get a ticket and come up to the Yakima Valley. They have excellent keynote speakers that they get. Ken Grossman, Vinny Chilozo. There's always like the big dogs are there, making sure that they're getting you on the right path, and then you'll spend a day doing talks and educational sessions. You'll spend a day touring all the hop farms. So they'll take you out to either Peralt Farms, Loftus Ranches, Carpenter Ranches, Double R. There's so many good family farms around in that area, and then you'll spend a day on the farms. You'll go into the fields, you'll see the hops getting picked. You'll see them going into the picker, getting stripped off the bines. You'll see them going into the kilns. And when I first saw that operation, it was mind-blowing how big that scale was. You think like hops, like your mind thinks just like a small little area. Those fields of those 6-meter high trellises, 18-foot high trellises, go like into the distance to the horizon.
Yes.
And acres. You just walk through there and you can just smell that aroma, and it smells beautiful in that valley. And the Yakima Valley is about 2 hours east of Seattle. And you're getting to the other side of the mountain range there. So it's almost like high desert. And it's very, very fertile soil. Hops like soil that's in that area, they like soil that like drains nicely.
Yes.
So they chow a lot of water. And then, there's a lot of specifics, which I don't know too much of the science behind. We've got a lot of agronomists working up there, but what made me fall in love with it was experiencing that. I was up there for that hop and brew school for like 4 days, and I didn't want to leave. I was like, I want to keep spending time on these farms. I want to see, like, we were there when they were harvesting Centennial and then Simcoe. Those are your early harvest varieties. And I was like, wait, I want to see the citrus. I want to see the mosaics. And go through the whole harvest. And I remember getting home to my wife, and I was just like, I want to work there. That's what I want to do. And, it's funny how things fell into place. I wanted to go and do that fermentation science degree because I'd looked at jobs on Yakima Chief's website before, and it said, chemical engineering degree or fermentation science degree required for the position. And I was like, I've got to go back to school to work here. It took a few years, and it was funny. A former director of brewing operations that I worked under, who was working for Yakima Chief at the time and is still working for Yakima Chief at the time, Steve Thompson. Always referred to him as my dad because he hired me at my first brewery.
Nice.
He told me about the Yakima Chief position. He's like my beer dad. So Steve told me when I was working at Moto Sonora, I'd had my knee surgery. I was back at school. I was working at Moto Sonora, and Steve texted me one day and he's like, hey, I think you can do this job. They're hiring in your territory. Yakima Chief is hiring. And I thought he was messing with me because I was like sitting in chemistry class. I was like, fuck off, Steve. Like, And he's like, no, like send your resume, like apply for the job. And I didn't even have a resume at the time. And he's like, I was like, give me the email where I should send this. And I like typed a letter. It wasn't even a resume. It was like, dear so-and-so, my name is Luke. And I like, what we've spoke about now, pretty much like typed out my like life story and sent it over and didn't share anything for 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, fuck that up.
Yeah.
And then got a phone call one day. I was like helping my rugby coach move some load wood into a trailer. And I got this phone call and it said, yeah.
Your rugby coach. Okay, I won't let that drop. Go, but keep going. Keep talking.
And then, so got a call from Yakima Valley. I told my coach, I was like, hey, I got to go take this call real quick. And then it was Mark Mueller at the time, who was the regional sales manager for the Northwest Territory, and also he was like the West Coast divisional lead. So I get this call from Mark. He was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, You wouldn't believe me if I told you I'm loading wood into a trailer. But we had a phone call that lasted over an hour.
Nice.
Sat in my car and had a phone call that lasted over an hour. And he was like, cool, we'll be in contact with you. I'll shoot you an email to the email you provided. And then I didn't hear anything for 2 weeks. And
Okay.
I was like, oh, fuck that up again.
Yeah.
And then he got back to me and they were like, we want to do a digital interview, a Teams interview on Microsoft Teams, and there's going to be 12 people in the interview.
Sure.
And I was like, yo, okay. But it was, at the time, I hadn't finished my fermentation science course.
Yeah.
I was still taking classes, and I was like, I don't think they're going to hire me because I don't have that degree yet. You know.
Yeah.
I'm not the guy. I'm not smart enough yet. I need to read more books. So, had the online interview, and it was more of, I remember before going into it, I was like, when again in my life am I going to have 12 people from Yakima Chief that I'm going to be able to ask whatever I want, that are going to be listening to me? And I kind of took it as an opportunity for me to learn more, gain more.
Yes,
and,
yes.
Had such a nice chat with everybody on that interview. I still remember it quite clearly. And they were like, "Sure, it's cool. We'll let you know." And then didn't hear anything for like 2 weeks again. And I was like, "Okay, that was fun while
That
it
was
lasted."
fun. Yeah.
And then it was funny. My grandmother was sick, so I actually flew back to Bloberg to spend some time with family.
Okay.
And the day I got back to Cape Town, I got an email, and they were like, "How soon can you get to Yakima? We want you to give a presentation, and this will be like your final interview."
Oh, nice.
And I was like, "Well, funny thing is, I just got to Cape Town, so
Yeah.
like gave me some dates, and I was like, I can't make those work. Could this work?" And then they're like, "Well, this person won't be able to join, and he can just join in remote. We'll do what suits you." And I was actually like, "No, I would like to meet everybody in person." And I flew home early. I flew pretty much from Cape Town directly to Yakima. I flew from Cape Town to Frankfurt. At a 5-hour layover.
Seattle.
No, I went back to Tucson, was there for like 8 hours, and then they got me a flight from Tucson up to
Yeah, we
Yakima.
forget that this place is halfway across the world. But
Yeah, it's. I mean, even just Cape Town and Tucson is almost like polar opposites.
I can imagine.
So, fly from Cape Town to Frankfurt, and they gave me this, like, whatever I had to do for the interview. And I texted Steve, old beer dad Steve. I was like, "Hey, Steve, what does Yakima Chief do their presentations on?" He says, "PowerPoint." Sat there 5-hour layover in Frankfurt Airport, PowerPoint 101.
Oh.
And taught myself PowerPoint there in the airport, because being a design guy, I was Apple everything. You know,
Yes.
I'd never used that before. So on the flight from Frankfurt to, I think I went Frankfurt to like Denver, and then Denver to Tucson, I drew out my presentation like I was making like slides on the airplane on pieces of paper, and then got home, made my presentation for my interview, gave my presentation to my wife one time. She gave me my changes, then got on a plane and flew to Yakima, landed in Yakima at midnight. And they were like, "CEO wants to meet with you at 7 a.m. I'm telling you, that was the one time in my life the jet lag was on my side. You know?
Okay. Okay. Was it like
landed at midnight, was up at like 5 a.m., like went for a little walk around town. Like it was snowing at the time.
Awesome.
So, and then, I went in and gave my presentation, and then spent...
What did they want the presentation on?
It was quite vague, because I think they want to see how your brain works in certain situations. So different plans of attack, because it was coming from a production brewer to then being a sales manager. It was, I think they want to see how will you handle this? How can you move from, this sort of position to this different position? And, having never worked remote before, how would you handle things like that?
Yeah.
So it was a few different things that were quite vague, but I was just really honest with them. I was, if this is how I would want to be treated as a brewer from a salesperson, how would I interact in a way that brewers would like and appreciate?
Yes,
kind of thing like that. So it was quite vague, and I used my design skills there to build a killer slide deck, and I got
Nice.
into the back end of their website and got all their colors and Pantones and typefaces. And
Smart.
And they were like, "Where did you get this slide deck from?" And I was like, "I stole it from the back end of your website."
Yeah.
But yeah, it was
Honesty. Yeah.
it was really amazing. You know, having wanted to get back to Yakima since that last harvest. You know, it was probably about a 4 year gap. No, I lie. It was like a 2 or 3 year gap. And then you know, getting there and being there, and then after I gave my presentation, I said to them, I said, I'm going to school right now so that I can work for you. Like, I need to get this degree so that I can work for you. And I was like, I know that I don't have it right now, and it's a requirement for the position. And then Spencer Teal-Kamaya, who's the sales director for North America, he drove me out to a farm. I remember after that interview, we went out to Van Hoorn Farms. Rich Van Hoorn over there, he grows amazing centennials out there too. So it was a beautiful farm. And at that time, there weren't any plants up. But and then we went and had some Mexican food for lunch.
Nice.
And then he dropped me at a brewery around the corner from the hotel, and I like walked into the brewery. It was Single Hill Brewing.
Okay.
Walk into Single Hill, I like ordered a beer, and then like my body was in like shutdown mode. I was just like, couldn't even finish the beer. Went back to my hotel room and just dosed. It was like
crashed. Yeah.
I was like, my brain was in such like go mode.
Adrenaline
from like Cape
pumping.
Town to Yakima to like do this, and it was such a beautiful thing. You know, I really enjoyed the whole process, and it was such a fun adventure doing that. And then flew back home, and you know, didn't hear anything for like 2 weeks, and I was like, cool. They hired the other guy. And then I remember when they called me and offered me the position, I like cried on the phone. It was crazy. Amazing. So, and then I never finished my fermentation science degree.
Oh my word, that's right. Dude, unbelievable story. Thank you so much for sharing. I think that's, man, I'm gonna give you a high five.
Sure.
Well done.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a great story, especially because
it's a long one.
You're from, I guess also because you're a Cape Town local.
Yeah.
You had ambitions and dreams, and especially within the beer landscape, it wasn't never always beer. It was other stuff. And then you've kind of just like got to this place where, sure, you still have to work hard, but at least you've got this weight and a little bit of authority behind you as being a brewer, having that knowledge, having an unfinished degree, regardless of whether you finish it or not. But I think that's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing.
No worries. It was awesome, and it's
so you've been there for how long now?
In the States?
No, in with Yakima.
With Yakima, I just had my 4-year anniversary with them last month. So
that's still that's an incredible 4-year stint. It's not a short period. It's
a lot of hops, a lot of beers.
It's a lot of hops. Do you want another beer?
I'd love another beer.
Do you know what I do want to do before I give you any other beer?
Yeah.
I know you had my oyster beer the other day.
It was excellent. I loved it.
And I've been keeping these beers just for a special occasion.
Mm-hmm.
This is the beer I did last year with Afro-Caribbean Brewing Company. It's the Kujavel beer and the Pisang beer. And for our non-Afrikaans speakers, that's the guava beer and banana beer. And the point that I kept telling everyone is that these beers are meant to be blended. You can have them on their own easily, but the whole joy comes in when you blend them together. So
excellent.
I've kept these beers for us. I'm not sure what they're going to be like. Let's pray.
I'm sure they'll be excellent. I'm looking forward to them. Are we going to do one each first, and then we do the blend?
You know what? If I'm going to be completely honest with you, I think the guava is still good, but I think the banana's gone a bit bitty.
Oh, nice.
The banana's gone a bit bitty.
I love bananas. Hey, cheers. Yeah, so I'm stoked.
This is still great.
Such
still
a beautiful nose on it.
Lost a bit of its twang, but it's still there.
It's still such a nice fruit aroma.
I wanted to get to that. I mean, you'll understand when you went on road trips and you had the guava juice the brightly colored guava juice.
When Oros dropped that Cuyavo commercial and that flavor, I switched from orange. It was.
But this is that's not Tropicana, but there was that other flavor like Dairy Bowl. Dairy Bowl had a guava juice, and they on the bottom of the label it said something like uses 5% guava. But it was flipping delicious.
Yeah.
So I wanted the beer to taste like that.
It's always for me a flavor and an aroma that's almost very South African. You don't see
100%.
too much guava anywhere else in the world, and I think we're big fans, and it's a delicious one. I like it.
Okay, that's good to know. Maybe guava is our beer that we should focus on. Okay, let's see how this is doing. Okay, not bad, not bad, not bad. Not bad. Okay, cool. No,
I always used to love those like banana sweets. They were in the little shapes of the bananas, the yellow ones. You remember those? It was
Yes,
almost like
I'm
a
thinking
harder
of
sweet.
the banana chips, the dried banana chips.
So this was like a sweet. In the
If you
shape
have
of a
too
little
many,
banana.
you will get heartburn. Yeah, so it's lost a lot of its banana.
I think it's still there.
Still there, still there, still
some, yeah.
subtle. It's actually quite nicer. When it was fresh, it was quite intense. Actually,
I think that's really good.
it's still there.
It's not too sweet. You get a really nice.
It's
banana
lost.
flavor.
It's lost almost 90% of its hop because it is an IPA. It's lost 90% of its hop aroma. But I actually quite like this. I actually quite prefer this because I thought that
These are such beautiful flavors, and they're so uniquely South African together. Eh? It's
100%. And I was a bit skeptical when Jake suggested we do an IPA for banana. I always knew that the guava had to be a sour. But yeah, I think this, I mean, he nailed both of them.
so balanced, both of them.
Okay, now speaking of balance, now we've got to pour the one into the other.
Okay. Mixologist.
There we go. Now smell. What are you smelling? I mean, I know what I'm smelling.
It almost goes like a what's that cocktail?
Totally different beer.
Yeah.
But you said the word cocktail.
It's like a
For me, it's the fruit cocktail, the fruit medley.
the fruit medley, but it's what's that cocktail I'm thinking of? Almost I can't think of the name for it now. But it's what's the one with a painkiller?
Painkiller, like
It's like
Long
little-
Island iced teas, kind of like that. But
Like-
that's different.
almost like that fruit medley with a little bit of coconut kind of thing going on.
So, if I can say so myself, I thought this was a great idea, blending two beers
it's
together.
excellent.
It's not really something that people would consider when buying a beer, but I think it's come out really well. So hopefully we'll do another round of this in the second half of the year.
Yeah, that banana one's awesome. It's funny. One of the after the 5K at Fools on Saturday, went down to the little shop there and I got myself a banana Steri Stumpy.
Wow!
So,
Wow! Jeepers!
yeah. So it's definitely a flavor I like a lot.
I can see it's such a South African, such a what's it called, an expat thing to do when you come
Yeah.
back to South Africa. Cream soda, Steri Stumpy, knickknacks. Let's go. Let's
Don't
get
forget
all,
the Stony.
Stony.
Stony number one.
Stony, gotta get it. Before we shift over to Fools and Fans, now what we've done here, you said it, like mixologist, like blending. One thing that I have always been fascinated with, and also it's also kind of gone, I wouldn't say over my head, but it's definitely been something that I thought has been like not impossible to do, but like so far out there in terms of getting to that stage of my beer existence. And I'm talking about how people can identify hop aromas. And I've only heard about it, but the one story I heard was when Vinny from Russian River goes out to pick his hops. He has his own personal day that he goes and chooses with his team, but he's able to identify certain flavors and blends the hops that he wants for his certain beer. For example, he'll get 50% Centennial, 30% Citra, and then 20% something else. But maybe you can talk to us about that, like just the level of expertise and the level compared to, especially compared to back home. But talk to us about that process where brewers come and actually already develop the beer before it's even been brewed.
Yeah, so that's the special thing about Hop Harvest is you get so many brewers from all over the world coming up to Yakima to select their hops for the year. So, you have the early harvest stuff, your Centennials, your Simcoe, Sabro will be early, and then you go into sort of like Citra, Crush, and into your Mosaic, and then all of your high alpha bittering hops will be later in the
Oh, really?
harvest
Is
season.
that how it works? Okay.
That's how it works. So your aroma hops are first, then your bittering hops are later. Um, so it's an agricultural product, so it changes every year. Um, your Simcoe from this field on this farm for 2024 is going to be a little different to 25. It's going to be a little different to 26. So that's one of the it's like really the magic in working in agricultural products, how they change. The weather's different every year. So that's why the brewers come up. Vinny knows what he likes. Using him as an example, he knows what he likes. So he'll go see those same fields that he's selected in years past, go to those same farms, and he's got all of those like amazing relationships with all of those growers. The not the rule, the like basis that Yakima Chief was built on was connecting the world's finest brewers to the world's greatest hop farmers. I think can't remember it word for word now, but making those connections. So when those brewers go up there for their selection, they go, they hit the farms, they go see the farmers like, oh, I know this, oh, this, oh, this,
Yes.
oh. And then he's been like, oh, this, you selected this last year. I think you're going to like the aroma of this year. So spending time on those farms is so important because then you're really getting your nose into those aromas that are going to be in your beers for the next 12 months. So it's, like we were just saying in these beers right now, what the aromas were. You and I can both rub a core of Simcoe. They'll take that whole leaf core out of a bale and put it on the table, and you get these kilned hop cones in front of you. You and I aren't going to smell the exact same thing just because of perception.
Yeah.
We'll know what we both like, but that's the thing. I do selection with some brewers, and they're like, "Oh, I love this Citra," and I'm like, "Well, I don't really like that Citra. I like this Citra, But it's what fits in your beer, what fits in your recipes, what you
Yeah.
want, those nuances in those hops, because you can get a Simcoe from Oregon, from Idaho, and from Washington. It's the same variety, but it's going to smell completely different.
100%.
Yeah. They're going to have maybe some similar attributes, but it's going to be very different. So that's I think the importance of coming up to selection is you finding what you want in your beer, and then we're just taking that, pelletizing that, shipping it to you. So
I guess to the layman, and not to sound disrespectful, but I was also once there. Like when you hear of all these varietals, sure, it's overwhelming, and you can maybe identify one or two differences between, let's just say, 5 different hops. But now you're actually going one step further and saying we have the same hop varietal from 4 different farms, and they're all going to have different, slightly off differentiated characteristics.
Yeah.
And now you have to almost kind of identify and being able to see that they're different. I guess it becomes super overwhelming and actually very impressive for someone to identify. And we're just talking about one generation, one vintage of one harvest of hops. Now there's also going back every year changes. So it is one of those things where you just like, wow, you actually, I guess you just have to be in it to like be able to like tell things apart.
yeah, definitely. I think it's also it's an understanding of certain aromas and certain varieties from certain terroirs, but then also for me, the customers I work with, the brewers I work with, they come up to selection. I drink their beers year round.
Yeah.
I'll be like, okay, this homie from this brewery, I think he's really gonna like this Citra over here at this farm, because I know what his beers taste like that he really enjoys. So I think that's where it's really fun for me in my position is being able to see what flavors and aromas brewers like in their beers, and then I can take them to those farms. I can be like, hey, I think you're gonna love this over here at this farm, and then introducing them to those farmers and being like, smell his Citra, or smell his Simcoe, like you're gonna like
Yeah.
that mosaic, and they're like, we love this, we'll take it all. So it's fun like making those connections, and it's fun finding something that you think somebody's really gonna like.
Yeah.
Like I could take you to a field and
Get excited about and
yeah, it honestly it's a position that it never loses its magic. I'm stoked about it constantly. I can take you to.
I'm so happy for you. This is awesome. The fact that you're working in this beer industry, another level down in the hop industry, which is, I mean, I'm trying to think of, it has to be the number one product of the 4 ingredients that go into beer that has to be the most exciting. And again, no offense to any malt farmers or yeast houses or
you can't do the one without the
water
other.
chemicals.
You need all of them, yeah.
You need all of them, but hops really is, I think once you get that light bulb moment, once you discover what hops actually is, because I think, again, to the layperson, they know what water and they know what malt is. Yeast, maybe not so much, but also hops is very much one of those mystical ingredients that can often be just generalized as being a bitter plant.
Yeah.
So, yeah, dude. Sorry, I interrupted you because I'm also just I'm dreaming
No,
here.
it is. It's an amazing plant. You know, it's the same plant family as cannabis. So, you know, I think that's also like an amazing thing. You know, you have hops as this one thing, but like you have marijuana, this one thing, but there's so many different flavors and different plants like offshoots and varietals of each one. So it's almost like never ending. And with a lot of the breeding that they're doing at Yakima Chief Ranches, which is our propagation facility, you know, they keep on looking for new varieties and new hops that can be more agronomic. You know, like something, you can get a hop variety like Centennial or a Cascade. You know, they can be very difficult with high heat. They use a lot of water. So it's like, can we breed a hop that smells like Centennial that uses half the amount of water that produces double the amount of hops? So there's still a lot of
It is crazy. It's crazy that that kind of what's the word? Progress is still going on in terms of just
it's
any of the 4 main ingredients of beer. There's always something to really improve on, cut on costs. I guess extract the most that you can possibly get from a single resource.
Definitely, and it's not something where, you know, because we've got this one hop plant, we're just going to stop there. You know, there's, I think, continuous progress in every industry yields many benefits. So by having those agronomists and, you know, guys doing hop breeding on the farms and cross-pollinating things, a lot of magic is there, and you can find a lot of new flavors to be used in beers to, you know, keep up with all the new trends, which is pretty cool.
My mind's just going like,
yeah, that's why I know you asked how long I'd been at YCH. I said 4 years, but I still feel like the new guy.
Yeah.
Like there's still so much to learn, and there's still so much to discover, and so much new knowledge that they're always figuring out. So
and it sounds like to me like it's always interesting that my father's generation, you know, once you found a job, you worked in that job and you stayed in that job.
Yeah.
Like you had pretty much one or not 2 jobs was like wild.
Yeah.
But you had 1 or 2 jobs and you stayed at that job until you got to your retirement age, where you legally had to retire. And it feels like the new generation, our generation, is like, no, I want to bounce around. I want to chop. I want to change. I want to try this. Am I good? I'm not. But it sounds like to me like you found a job now where you're like, cool, this is it. I'm only 4 years in, but like if I could be until I'm 65, oh please, thank you so much. Like let me have it.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I think you see more in younger generations now. I know my aunt was saying to me the other day, I hate my job. She's like, you love your job. Your cousin, she loves her job. Your sister, she loves her job. I'm like, yeah, you're going to do it until you're 65. Why don't you do something you really like?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be just a dreary doing something cuck your whole life.
Yeah.
So I think that's really the goal these days. It's finding something, what's that saying? Like, do something you love, never work a day in your life. You know, and I think it applies today so much more than ever. So,
oh man,
look at you, Troy.
This is hitting home. This is hitting home. It feels like a Dr. Phil show. No, dude, thank you for. Hopefully, the people listening and watching that, you know, really do take something from that, because it's not an easy journey, whatever journey you're on. But like, if you can just bear that in the back of your mind, like, cool.
Mm-hmm. Something.
Let's find something that's I'm good at and I can enjoy, and at least make the most of your time on this planet. Let's shift gears.
Yeah.
We finished this beer. Do you want anything else? Carl said we could have anything from the taps.
Yeah, no, we're gonna bust all those things. All I've got to do later is get on a plane. So
you're fine. I have to go. Still be a parent and a husband. But I tell you what, I'm keen on this dark ale. It's the Frosthammer Dark Ale, and Carl was saying that because 400 Brewing Company has turned 11 this year, they've done 11 collaborations, and so this dark ale, the Frosthammer Dark Ale, is what they've done with Caribbean ACBC. So I'm going to have that one. You can have.
I'll do the same one.
Anyone you want.
That'll be lucky, yeah. Jake makes killer beers.
They've also got the Karaoke Fuel, which is, I'm assuming, is another one of their collaborations with...
that Frosthammer was really good. I like the lager, so let's try the dark ale.
I think Karaoke Fuel, I wonder if that was with Soul Barrel. I know that they did a karaoke beer. I could be just mixing up my beers here.
I'm bad at karaoke, so...
They do karaoke here every Wednesday. For those of you who want to know. Okay, we both have in the 400.
Yeah.
This dark ale.
Yeah, the dark ale, I'm in.
I'm going to keep all of this for sound bits.
Carl's going to be like, you guys are recording too long. You're drinking all of our beers here.
Giving him lots of free publicity.
I brought him some stickers.
Yes, got him some stickers. I've been patenting it as well. Well, love me a good dark ale.
Yeah, this is awesome. It's such a special little tap room. Such a cool spot. I remember when I was in town last year, this is like the first spot that I met Warren and Russell from Newland Spring. Like a lot of the guys that I really enjoy hanging out with, this was like the first spot that I met them, which is it's a beautiful little corner here.
Cheers.
Cheers. Sure.
Speaking of people you like hanging out with, let's talk about Fools and Fans.
Yeah. Fools and Fans. What a weekend.
This was your first fest. I know that you've been in Cape Town a few times for work at the BeerX conference that happens late May. Yeah. But you decided, let's go do the Fools and Fans Fest.
Yeah, I decided let's pivot this year. I love BeerX. Lucy and the team do an amazing job. It's been such a lacquer festival, but I really wanted to get into the nitty gritty and be able to have a few pints with all the brewers from all over the country in one spot. And Trevor roped me in.
As he does?
Yeah, he told me last night that I've got a new stalker now because he got a hold of my phone number. But I'm not bad about that. I'm very happy.
I almost responded on the group. I'm just so exhausted from the weekend, but I almost responded to tell Trevor that was your work number, not your personal number. So I kind of said to him, "Well,
I've got the burner one for the stalkers,
exactly,
and the family phone on the other side." But no, what an absolutely beautiful weekend. Cruising up to Great, and I haven't been there in about 20 years. Cruising up with Ant from Beer Guevara. He's been like my chauffeur this week. Cruised up there with him, stayed with the Beer Guevara gang, and then being able to walk to the fest right there and just see everybody right there, and just it was a really magical weekend. I loved the whole thing, and having all the home brewers on the Friday. The quality of homebrew in South Africa right now blew me away.
Yeah.
It was amazing. There were so many really solid, good beers that I had that I think could rival a lot of the US homebrew clubs any day of the week. Excellence.
I 100% agree.
Yeah. The from like opposite ends of the spectrum, stuff that was like true to style and clean and directly in style guidelines, to stuff that was crazy on the spectrum, like you had a cream soda beer that was excellent.
Yeah,
there was such a variety of things.
It did what the label said. It was a cream soda ale.
The Green Ambulance.
Yes.
But and then Friday, like hanging with all the O's, having such a good time on Friday, and then Saturday, starting off the morning with that run. I was struggling in the beginning, but
well done.
I don't know. In my mind, it was just going to be flat on the road. I didn't know we were going to be running up 4x4 trails in the hills.
Yes, there was one little hill.
It was beautiful, running up there. And honestly, the drizzle and the rain this weekend, I thought was perfect. It was magical running up there in those low-hanging clouds, overlooking the valley and seeing the town of Greyton, and then.
That's exactly the reason why I marked that as a priority on that route. Mm-hmm. Trevor has asked every year that we make the route in the shape of a phallus, which I do try and adhere to. But that, in terms of a priority, that's top value, that 4x4 route that we look back into the town is just magical.
It was awesome. And it was fun seeing everybody's Strava maps afterwards. You can ask Johan from Capital Craft to see his. He went a bit too far on the one route, so it's a fun little happy ending on his Strava map. But
lovely.
But then running back down into town, having some beers there at the finish, and then cruising straight into the fest. It was an amazing weekend, and I think such a beautiful beer fest. Really intimate and nice, and so much fierce there. Everybody was happy about everything, stoked about everything. The food was amazing, the beers were amazing. The tomatoes were a bit hard that Trevor got pummeled with.
Shame.
Yeah, some of those things were bouncing like tennis balls off his head.
He endures that. But I don't know. I don't know if I could really enjoy that.
But it was a beautiful fest. I had such an amazing time, and really would love to make it out for another one. It was
what
highlight.
I mean, I've also been very fortunate to have traveled around the world and gone to different beer fests. But what is maybe you can tell us some of the differences, similarities, or trends, anything that you can tell us about what's happening in the States in terms of beer fest. I know that we've spoken about this before, and you're going to have to correct me, but I think it's the Firestone Walker Invitational.
Yeah, that's the big one.
So that's the big one. Is that the one that everyone wants to kind of get invited to?
Yeah,
say you can only get invited, or how does it work?
Yeah, if you want to pour beer at that fest, you have to get invited by Mr. Matt Brindelson personally. So
who, for those of you who can remember, was in South Africa about 10 years ago presenting at, it wasn't BeerX back then, but it was called the Brewers Power? Yeah, maybe it was the Brewers Power. Mm-hmm. So he has been to Cape Town.
Yeah, head brewer, Firestone Walker, the big dog over there. And he personally invites, his homies and the breweries that he loves from all over the world. You're going to have... They limited at 5,000 tickets, and they sell out in about 20 seconds. So it's almost impossible to try and get a ticket to that. But, once you're in, you're in. It's in Paso Robles, which is right where the Firestone Walker production facility is. It's at like their rodeo grounds there. The fest is just the Saturday. The brewers all stay in a brewer's camp, which is that's the real jaw of that fest, is hanging out in the brewer's camp. But it happens sort of like the first day of summer, and they have a water park there in Paso, and they have massive water slides, and it's almost like Sun City on steroids.
Yeah.
And on the Friday before the beer fest, they book out the whole water park because the water park only opens that Saturday.
Okay.
On the Friday, every single brewer, all the brewers' homies, everybody goes to the water park and you can ride all the slides for free. They've got like massive braais going, meat all day, beers all day, and you're just ripping slides, hanging at the water park. That's like almost like the highlights. And then you go from that into the beer fest the next day, and it's just unbelievable. You know, everybody's got their A game. All the beers that had like just medaled at World Beer Cup, everybody's pouring their big stuff. You got brewers from Japan, you got guys from Germany, you got all the big dogs in the States. It's crazy. The Aussies, New Zealanders are all there, and everybody's like bringing such a creative flair. Everybody wants to make their booth unique. They're going to be doing crazy things with different ingredients, and it's almost like the Oscars with a circus, with like everything mixed into the beer industry. It's a kind of a highlight, but you know, Fools is like right there. It's almost like South Africa's version. You know, we've got everybody bringing their A game, everybody doing the crazy things, all the gears, everyone's hanging out.
We don't have the water slide park, but we do have the morning run. We have the morning run.
Yeah, it's we got the morning run, but you know, there was a lot of similarities and vibe from Firestone that reflected at Fools.
Yeah.
And I think Firestone's been going for so many years. Did you know Fools can definitely work up to that level? It can definitely get there, which would be awesome.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, thank you for helping paint that picture. And I do recall watching videos of the Firestone Walker festival, and it is something that's, oh man, it's been added to my wish list now. So
yeah, you must.
I need to either become a brewer or somehow get invited, or so I'm weighing my options at this point in time.
Tune Matt, get on the hashtag beertime podcast, and then you're in.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
They record so many podcasts
but you
at
must
that
tell
fest
him,
too.
you must tell him it's by invitation only to get on the podcast. No, don't say that. Yeah, but I do love Fulton Fans, and it is very unique in the sense that it is a get-together of brewers who are all friends, who are just excited to be working in the industry and to be drinking some beers. And I think we spoke about on the weekend where it's different from other festivals where you don't have to wait 10 minutes to get a beer.
Yeah.
And we've seen that with, and again, this is not a negative point, but we've seen that with Clarence Beer Fest. We've seen that with Capital Craft, where if there's a good beer and you want it, you do have to get in the queue. And it could only be 2 deep, but sometimes it's 5, 10 deep people where you do need to wait in the line. And I think the nice thing about Fools is that you are just spoilt for choice, where you could just go straight to the brewer and say, can I pour that? And there's no one behind you, so I'll have that one as well. Yeah. Which is great for you as the attendee. Maybe it's not so much for the brewer because they do want to be busy, but it's still a very intimate festival, which I'm hoping still continues way beyond Trevor's 10-year plan.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that. You know, you say it's not having a line and it's quick to get a beer, but it's, you know, every booth you walked up to, like the brewer would be, what's been your favorite beer so far? What have you liked? Like, no, at no other beer fest are they asking you how you've been, how your day's been, what have you enjoyed? And you're like, oh, I like that one over there. And they're like, cool, I'll go try that one over there.
Yes.
It's like there's so much good conversation just walking up to the booth with those. Everybody has time for you, which is really nice. You can go there. It starts raining a little bit, then you like chill under the tent for like 30 minutes.
Like a few O's come in, chat.
And then you hang and then you chat with other O's and you all enjoy the same beer. Yeah, it got steamy in some of those tents. But that intimacy of that fest is really special, and it's not something that you can make or plan for. You know, It's something that happens organically, and it happened really well.
Bless Trevor for actually having that kind of personality and just seeing it through.
Yeah.
So we've been recording for over an hour now, and I'm very wary that you need to still go do some work, and also then well, catch a flight. I don't
Yeah.
need you to miss a flight.
Hopefully customs is chill.
Customs will be chilled.
Mm.
Before we kind of like draw to a close, you've got quite a busy week. You land back in San Diego, where you're currently living, which is, I believe, is a whale's vagina, according to Anchorman. And then you have a few, 48 hours before you have to head over to CBC. And you mentioned this a few times over the weekend. And I think Trevor was the one guy who said, "Oh, you're going to go to CBC to visit Wolfgang and Paul." And I was like, "No, Trevor, the original CBC." So maybe you can just tell people what your plans are for this weekend.
Yeah, first of all, Wolfgang is a legend. Met him this weekend, and what a kippo. Like, I had a good time with him, and they got some killer beers. But yeah, CBC is the Craft Brewers Conference, and also where World Beer Cup takes place. It's the largest craft brewing and brewing trade show in, you could say, the Northern America, or even Americas as a whole. It moves around to a different city every year. Last year it was in Indianapolis. This year it's in Philadelphia. The whole brewing community just devours that town and just gets in there for a few days. So the trade show starts on April 20th. It'll be the 20th, 21st, 22nd, and then it will finish off with the World Beer Cup Awards ceremony.
Okay.
So I'll be up there with all the Yakima Chief team. That's also where we'll do our hop selection for the New Zealand hop harvest.
Okay.
So they just wrapped up their hop harvest in New Zealand now. We'll do our selections down there. And then, hang out with all the Yakima Chief gang, and then all the homies, all the brewers that will be coming up from our territories from Southern California. Plan to smuggle you in one of the bags, Troy. We'll get you in there.
Thank you. It's official now. You heard it, everyone, on hashtag beertime. But tell me, so just for people who maybe not quite aware, but it's a trade show.
Yeah.
And are there presentations? Are there people talking on different subjects?
Yeah.
There's a trade floor. What's on the trade floor?
Trade show floor. It's pretty massive. My first CBC, I was blown away by how many brew houses, packaging lines, how many bottling lines, canning lines. Everybody sets up everything, and it's huge. Like, you definitely get your steps in cruising around the fest for the day.
But you can expect to find
during the days they'll have seminars too.
So you really are sport for choice.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. So you'll have from rubbing the latest varieties and seeing the latest hop products, seeing the latest malts, new canning developments, new brew house technology, and then you have all of the guys from different breweries, universities, different courses, giving seminars and presentations. So it's
literally
a lot
everything from
in.
raw ingredients to technology to new technology to everything.
It's awesome. It's a great event, and I think what Lucy's doing with BeerX is definitely on track to get to that same.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I think she attended CBC 5 years ago or something, or even longer, and that's also where she bumped into Sam Calagione, and great that we had him out for BeerX. I don't think, was it last year, year before?
Year before.
2024. So it's great that South Africa, Cape Town, is having that kind of interest. But it's a big wheel, it's a slow wheel, and we need as many people as possible to kind of like push that wheel together. Such as yourself, who come and supports and showed interests, because you said you are the regional sales manager for South Africa. So you have to come back.
Yeah, it's a huge passion of mine. It's like it's my duty. Like, I know everybody's doing such a good job here, and there's so much effort being put in. I'm like, I need to do the same. From all the brewers throughout South Africa, from our distributor partners here, Antit Birgavara. He just landed a container of YCH hops today. He's busy offloading it now, and I was going to go check it out over there.
Sounds and smells delicious.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to help.
Yeah.
So you hear, we can assume you hear at least once a year.
Yes.
Would it be possible to get you twice a year, or is it too logistically challenging?
We'll see. I know I'd love to come more often. My family's still in South Africa. My mom still lives in Bloberg. I've been staying with my mom this week. But I've also got a lighty on the way. So they're going to be a parent soon. So next year's podcast, I'll be a dad. But I think that will...
And I don't know if you'll be here.
Yeah. You're going to have to come visit me.
Okay, we can do that. That's possible because my lighties they maybe get into the stage where they can be without me for like a weekend. Who am I kidding?
Just take them on a 16-hour flight with you.
It's work. Babe, it's work. It's work. But yeah, no, congrats again on that. So you and I have a different lifestyle. You won't be able to do any more of these dank drives where you travel up and down the coast of California, sleep in the back of the truck, talking to brewers, brewing with brewers. You know, things change when you become a parent.
Yeah, those special projects I'm going to have probably will be more limited.
I'll give you some insight. It's not that they go away. You just have to push pause on them.
Yeah.
They like, especially when my kids were born, I had to push pause on a lot of beer projects. Like I couldn't go out. I mean, the one story from BeerX was that Lucy had me presenting, and I think my daughter had just been born, and then the next day I had to go present it at BeerX, and I literally drove in, presented, and then I drove back to the hospital. So I was just like, I'm not going to stay. I can't drink. So you've definitely got something coming in terms of a lifestyle change, but
it'll be good. Yeah,
I think it'll be fine. Mr. Luke, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
Just Troy, thank you for what you're doing for beer in South Africa. Thank you to my mom, my wife. Thank you for letting me do this as a career.
Oh, yeah. Thank you to my younger self.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. Thank you to Yakima Chief Hops for giving me a job. And all the brewers in South Africa, all the distributors in South Africa, keep pushing, keep growing the industry. It's going to be ever changing. It's going to be hard. It's going to be good times. It's going to be bad times, but just keep on cruising with it. Everything's going to be fine.
What a absolute fantastic place to end. I think that's where we'll call it. And I think, if you are listening to this and you're in the beer industry or you're just drinking beer, I think there's nothing to worry about. Beer will never go away. We'll always have it. And it's just forever will be a very exciting project. So here's to many more beers. Cheers.
Cheers. Shots.
And thank you folks for listening. We'll catch you again soon. #beertime. We'll see you again soon. Ciao, ciao.
Sit.